much of your life is real and how much of your life is a performance? Did you know that many people wear invisible masks to survive life? These masks protect us from judgment and rejection. Over time, the mask becomes the identity. Today, we begin the journey of awareness. I want to share with you a story. There was a time I was at a prayer meeting. It's like a youth prayer meeting, and there was a lot of young people that needed to be prayed for. And I went and I was a part of the team that was praying for people. But in that moment, I was waiting for someone to come and pray for me. You know, I felt like I really could do with prayer, but no one was coming and praying for me. No one was coming and feeling that I needed to be prayed for. And I realized after that day that a part of it was the impression that I was giving, you know, like the way that I was coping with life or the way that I was presented that I'm all right. You know, that could be giving people impressions that Herman's all right. You know, no one needs to pray for Herman. Herman's got everything under control and everything. But in that moment, Herman wasn't doing well. Herman really needed prayer. Herman really needed some attention. And I realized it was because of the mask that I was wearing. So I understand about wearing a mask. I know that wearing a mask isn't just something that other people do. It's something that I have done and something that I have experienced in my life. And sometimes it's about the invisible performance. People perform confidently even when they feel insecure. People perform happiness while struggling on the inside. A lot of times this is something that mums do really well. You know, they're keeping everything going. They're controlling, you know, their emotions, and, you know, they're keeping the home running and keeping the children happy and performing happiness, but while they're struggling on the inside. People perform success to gain approval. Many people perform strength to avoid appearing weak. This is something that many men suffer from. Many men are going on like everything's okay and everything isn't okay. You know, there is a reason that there's a correlation between that men are mostly the people that commit suicide. You know, the statistics is mostly men that commit suicide. And could that be because they're always giving the impression that everything's okay, everything's all right, I've got everything under control, but really everything isn't under control. And eventually the performance feels normal, but the performance isn't reflecting the truth of what people are going through. Why masks feel necessary? Painful experiences teach people to protect themselves. This is the whole function of trauma. You know, trauma is like your body's way of trying to remind you of what you've gone through before and the pain you've gone through before, and then your body's trying to stop you from experiencing that pain again. So it's pushing people back, and it's being in self-protection mode. So painful experiences is what teach people to protect themselves. Rejection can cause people to hide their true identity. I think about smart children, you know, like I run the mentoring organization, Every Child Needs a Mentor. We've got a lot of mentors that are mentoring young people. And even on my journey of becoming the CEO of Every Child Needs a Mentor, I have done my time in the field and I have mentored young people. And there's lots of young people I would mentor, and they're really smart, but because they're not being accepted, they would dumb down their smartness to fit in with those that are not smart enough. You know, so they're wearing a mask of, I'm not good at school, I'm not really smart, but really they are smart. And sometimes it's the rejection of their friends that's making them act like they're not as smart as they are. So I would say that a lot of times young people go through this as well. Criticism and judgment create emotional armor. You know, we deflect, we try to protect ourselves. And when we're criticized, sometimes when we're when we're low in self-esteem or we're insecure, when we receive criticism, it could be a positive thing. We could be receiving criticism to become better, but then we feel that we're being attacked. And that is something why many of us even wear masks. Masks can slowly become strategy for survival. We can be covering up ourselves just to survive. Whether we're in a working environment or we're in a relationship environment or in our family, we can be wearing a mask just to cover how we're really experiencing life, because we don't want people to really understand, and self-protection slowly becomes our identity. Here are some of the common masks that people wear. There's the strong mask. So the strong mask is pretending that nothing hurts, nothing's hurting me, and it don't matter what you say, it doesn't hurt, and really a lot of times we're hurting on the inside. That's one of the masks. The success mask is another one. Appearing accomplished, but empty on the inside. We've got that degree, we've got that job, we've got that car, we've got that certificate, but really on the inside, we're just empty. Our success isn't really fulfilling us. Then there's the happiness mask, smiling while silently struggling. How many people have had like a smile on their face, but they're crumbling on the inside? Is that you? Are you one of those people that smile all the time, but on the inside you're crying? I know that that's been me through my life. I've smiled, but there's been tears on my heart. And I know that that's a mask. Then there's the control mask, hiding fear behind authority. This happens to a lot of teachers. This happens to a lot of people with an authority role. They can have the role, but on the inside, really, they're hiding behind authority, but they're lacking control. They're losing control. And that's something that a lot of us go through. And then there's the invisible mask, shrinking to avoid attention. So many of us don't want to be seen, don't want people to see us, want to blend into the background, shrinking to avoid attention. This is a psychological insight. So the psychologist Carl Jung described the persona, and the persona is the mask we show the world. It helps us gain acceptance and approval, but it can hide our true identity. And many people eventually confuse the mask with the self. And I remember that show, that program, The Mask. And remember Jim Carrey would be a certain character when he put the mask on, and, he's like a great character, and he was funny, and he was this and he was that. But it was only when he put the mask on, and it's when he took the mask off, he was a different person. Is that you as well? Are you a certain character? Are you the life of the party? Are you the person that's always bringing the jokes? But when you take the mask off, when you're by yourself, you're not necessarily that same person. So my questions for you are this. When was the last time someone saw the real you? Who are you when nobody is watching? What parts of yourself do you hide? What role do you perform most often? And how much of your life feels like performance? This is like a man or a woman in the mirror moment. Those questions, answering those questions, reflecting on those questions will help you to engage and to meet yourself, because questions are really important, and us asking ourselves questions help us to come close to truth. And as it says, the truth will set you free. And a lot of times why a lot of you are not in freedom, a lot of times why I'm not in freedom is because I'm not being truthful. I'm not being honest. And I probably don't want to admit the truth of a question, because there's going to need to be real changes that need to take place. So who are you trying to impress with your mask? Is it your boss? Is it your friend? Is it your spouse? Is it who you're trying to impress? Is it your family? You know, when I was speaking to someone the other day and they was talking about they really wanted to become a mentor, when I was interviewing for our mentoring roles, and this person said they got a law degree, they became a solicitor, they'd done all these different things. And then when they stopped, and they had children and they stopped doing work and, there's on maternity leave, they realized they didn't even like being a lawyer. And I asked them, who do you do it for? Do you do it for your parents? And they says, yeah, maybe I did. Sometimes we're trying to impress people with our mask. What are you afraid of people seeing? What are you afraid that people might discover if you're not wearing a mask? That's a question. When did you first learn to hide yourself? Sometimes we done that in primary school. Sometimes we done that when we was young. And we just grew up learning how to keep pretending and wearing that mask. Where in your life are you pretending most? Where do you need liberty? Where do you need to just exhale and relax and stop wearing that mask? If your mask disappeared tomorrow, who would you actually be? Whoa. I know these are some real serious questions. There's some real deep questions, but on the other side of these questions, there's freedom. There is real freedom. You have to understand when we're talking about wearing a mask, it does not mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. It just means that you've just learned how to survive. For many of us, we created masks and we developed masks just to survive in life. But awareness is the first step toward freedom. And your authentic self is not something to fear. Your authentic self is to be embraced. Your authentic self is who you was born to be. It's who the world really needs. The real you is more powerful than the mask. A lot of times we're covering up ourselves because we think our mask is better, our mask is stronger, our mask is what people really want. But what people really want is you. So I'm going to pray. I say, Lord, I pray right now that you will give us the courage to face ourselves honestly. That you'll give us the courage to be able to let go of our masks. I pray that you would heal the wounds that have caused us to wear a mask. I pray that you'll heal the wounds that has caused us to hide. I pray that you will heal the wounds in our personalities, heal the wounds in our souls, heal the wounds in our mindsets, heal the wounds in our views of ourselves, because a lot of us have not viewed ourselves in a generous way. We've not viewed ourselves in a truthful way. We've not viewed ourselves in an honest way. And we need freedom from that place. Help us to remove the masks that we're wearing, the masks that are suffocating us, the masks that are stopping us from breathing. Help us to be able to be restored in our confidence, where life can be able to be life abundantly. Help us to go beyond fear, because many of us have lived in a place of fear, and that's why we've wore a mask. And guide us towards truth, guide us towards freedom, and guide us towards authenticity, and give us the courage to be who we're meant to be. And I pray this right now in Jesus' name. So I'm going to give you some homework. You know, there's always going to be homework and there's always going to be reflection when we come together. I want you to write the mask you wear at work. Write down, what is the mask you wear at work? Write about the mask you wear in relationships. Write about the mask that you wear in society. It doesn't need to be much. It doesn't need to be a big dissertation, but just write a few words about the mask. Ask yourself why each mask exists. Why do they exist? And prepare to discover where the mask began. So I want to say thank you for being with me today. Thank you I know that this wasn't necessarily an easy talk, but we're entering a series now as we talk about the masks that people wear. And I want to say thank you for being with me. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for opening up your heart. Thank you for listening to me with an open heart. And I say sharing is caring. So share this talk with people around you, because so many of us wear masks and the masks are suffocating us. And allow people to be free from the masks. Take care.